Hey there, little bitch boy. You know you have a worthless cock between your legs. Your cock will never be worthy of going into my divine, strong pussy. You'll never get to fuck me, you worthless loser. Get on your knees, bitch.
All right, Sonja.
Hi.
Sonja, where are you from originally?
Born and raised in Riverside, Ohio. So it's a really small city right outside of Dayton. That's like the biggest city next to it.
So you're a Midwestern girl.
Oh yeah. My city has like, I think 25,000 people in it, so really small.
What was your family like growing up?
Unfortunately, it was very toxic. I grew up, parents got divorced when I was 8. My father was like, unfortunately, physically abusive, especially to my mom. So I just remember them fussing and fighting a lot as a child. But for us, our thing was making it look good to the outside. So like, when people talk to me, they're like, oh, I can tell you came from a good home. And it's like, we just knew to mask it well. We went to church. Like, I grew up volunteering heavy in the church, so very religious background as well. And my mom, I don't talk to her. I don't talk to either of my parents because, it's just toxic.
Really?
Yeah.
And you made it through high school?
Yes.
Did you do any college?
I did some college.
Yeah. What did you want to do for work?
I used to want to be a neurologist when I was a kid, but then I found out, all about the insurance and lawsuits they have to go through, so I said no. So.
And you somehow got into this this line of work.
Yeah, here we are.
Tell me what you're doing now.
Well, for me now, I'm outside of doing phone sex. I'm also a dancer, so.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
But tell me about the phone sex thing that you do.
Okay. Well, phone sex. It's like. How I got into it was because during 2020, everything was shut down, so I needed another job. So I went online and people were talking about it, and I started doing phone sex. And at first when I did it, it was like I was putting on more of a submissive front. So the calls that I were getting were kind of like abusive and things, and people were saying crazy things to me. So I learned more about dominant fetishes and things like feminization, which is when like men, they get turned on by wearing women's lingerie and acting like a woman. And so I've been getting more into that BDSM theme with the phone sex. So
what kind of conversations are you having with men?
The men, they want to call me and tell me they want to worship me. I've had guys tell me that, I'm divine, I'm a goddess, I deserve whatever I want. It can get kind of graphic though, and sometimes the guys ask for like pee play and urine play. That's the same thing. Scat, yeah, they ask for this on the phone, but it's not allowed, so we can't talk about that. I try to redirect the call, but they want to know about menstrual cycles and all that too, yeah.
How often are these conversations not sexual?
Very rarely, but I've had a guy before, he was just calling, he had a long day at work, and he just wanted to have a genuine conversation, so.
But for the most part, they are?
Yeah, because what it is, we have a profile. So on my profile, I put, I'm a dominant woman, and if you're coming to me, I want you to submit. I put, all the fancy stuff. And they like that, and they are like, they want to be called girls, they want to be called like all kind of, yeah, it gets wild. They like for me to dominate them. They like to be submissive and to give me the power, and I love having the power, so.
You enjoy it?
Yes, it's like I love what I do, I do.
What have you learned about men and women from doing this? Because seeing so many men who are looking to be submissive, and you enjoy being dominant, is an interesting, twist, which is probably not that uncommon.
Well, I didn't realize I was more of a or how fun being dominant could be until I got into this because, I just enjoyed regular vanilla sex. But I realized that there's so much more to sex, like being the one in charge can be fun. But you said women and men. What it's taught me about women is I've only had one woman customer and she was shy. She hung up after about 3 minutes, so she still wanted me to be in control. But men, it's made me think of them different because these guys, when they call me, and even if it's not true, a lot of times they're like, I'm a masculine man, I'm 6'2", muscles, blonde hair, hazel eyes. I'm the man in charge and in control, and I want to be dominated, and I want somebody to submit to. So they get tired of they get tired of having everybody submit to them, and they want to give that woman the power. So that turns them on.
What have you learned about men and relationships for yourself personally from what you do for work?
It's kind of hard not to, because I realize that when these men are calling me and telling me these things, nobody's told me this in real life because, what was I going to say? Yeah, it's like, it's more of a secret thing. So it makes me look at guys who are, big and muscular different, like maybe they want to be dominated. But I know everybody's different, and, it's a reason why it sticks out to me when I do this job, because I don't have men tell me this in real life. So.
Do you enjoy it?
I do, yeah.
Where do you derive enjoyment from it? Is it the power and control, or is it just playing with men? Or tell me what you enjoy about it.
I used to do Google searches for my own name, and I was always really disturbed what I'd find. Seeing my personal information out there for anyone to grab, it's just uncomfortable. That's why I've started using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura not only shows me which data brokers are peddling my info, but also takes action by sending opt-out requests on my behalf. Data brokers are making a fortune by selling our personal information to anyone willing to pay for it. It's not just harmless information and marketing stuff. They're selling everything from your email, home address, to your health records, even details about your relatives. Cleaning up my digital footprint isn't just avoiding scam emails. It's about protecting myself from potential hackers who could exploit that information and wreak havoc on my life. And recently, AT&T revealed that over 73 million customer records of both existing and former customers were released onto the dark web. They recommend those affected use strong passwords, monitor account activity, and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from credit bureaus. Well, Aura does all of this for me. And best of all, I don't have to download several different apps just because a company couldn't keep my data secure. If my info was compromised in the AT&T data breach, I wouldn't worry because Aura is always on, always doing the hard work of keeping me safe. From antivirus protection to VPN and password management, Aura's got it all covered. It's like having a digital security guard on duty 24/7. I'm too busy to deal with this stuff, but with Aura, I can go about my day knowing that my privacy is being safeguarded, leaving me free to focus on what really matters. So if you value your privacy as much as I do, go to aura.com/softwhiteunderbelly to start your 14-day free trial. The link is in the video description box below. And now back to the video.
It would be both of that, and for me, because naturally in my life, I think, like, I'm confident, but I'm more of like a relaxed person. I'm the quiet girl. You're not really gonna hear me say much, but when I do this, I can show a different side of myself. And just like with these guys, they don't tell women usually these fetishes and these things. They usually only tell me or another woman who they would be paying to do this for them. And so it's like, it can be fun when you look at it both ways, like we're both kind of coming together, like this isn't something we normally do, but it makes it more entertaining.
And do you like men in general?
Yeah, I like men. Yeah, I like I like men.
Yeah, like men are jerks.
Do. I will say this. I'll say that this is still a man's world, and as a woman, I like to know how to navigate through that. So it's still a man's world. It is.
Do you find in your personal relationships that you have to be more submissive, or can you get away with being dominant in those relationships as well?
My personal relationships. Well, like I work, at my other job, like I said, at the club, but I don't really have like a lot of friends or anything, so I don't really have any recent relationships that I could connect that to. But
yeah, when you're living this life, especially when you work as a dancer as well.
Yes.
So that whole lifestyle kind of doesn't lend itself to having a steady relationship, right? Does it?
No, and honestly, I'm at a point in my life where I know I have some things that I want to perfect in myself and get myself together before I get into a relationship with any man. So I want to fix me first before I get with the man.
How old are you?
26.
Oh, you're very young. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What would you like to be doing?
I would like to be, having a lot more money than I do and investing it. I want to learn about stocks, grow properties, something that helps me build more. I like to see my money grow, so.
You have a good head on your shoulders.
Thank you. I think for me, like I said earlier, coming from a background and a family it was that strict Christian upbringing, it's just I don't want to go back to that. And I don't want to go back to, because I've tried to talk with certain family members about, just past trauma, but they don't understand. So
Yeah. Tell me some stories about some of the phone conversations you've had.
one that, man, I like this guy too, and he was cool, but he started getting like a little crazy. He wanted to be dominated, of course, but he started like, and it's fine. Okay, open up to me about your trauma. I don't mind. He was talking about, his trauma and why that kind of is the reason why he likes to be dominated. But I had to stop talking to him because he kept like wanting to know about what does your menstrual cycle feel like? Like, I want to wear a pad too. Seriously. Yeah. And I'm like, we can't talk about that. I'm not allowed to talk about that. And it was like, he got off the phone, and then the next time he called me, and this man's like in his 70s, and he wanted to call me mom. He's like, I just need a mom. I want you to be my mom. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. I'm sorry.
How many of the men that you speak to are what you would call mentally in need of help?
I'm not a therapist, so I can't say. What I'll say is for me, I feel like just with regular sex, there has to be boundaries. So even when I'm dominating a man, I can't just call him anything I want to. There's certain men don't like to be called certain words, and I have to keep that in mind as well. So.
And you work in the New York City area. The men you're talking to are from the United States or from all over the world?
I've had men, from what I've known from the United States, I've heard people with accents, but usually, they might tell a little bit about themselves. Usually if they're talking about themselves, it's just about like how they look,
But the men you're talking to are from the local area or from the United States or from where?
I have no clue. When they call, I have no idea where they're calling from. So they could
right?
be in another country.
And sometimes they want to connect with you off the phone, right? I'm sure.
Yeah, all the time. And I have to tell them like,
You're in Alaska.
That's a good way. I have to say that next time.
Most men are married, you think? That you're talking to? Or you never find out?
Some guys do tell me that they're married. Some guys, a lot of times, because it's just about humiliation, they just want to be embarrassed. Like, they want for me to be the one talking about myself and worshiping and serving me. So I don't know, but another thing that I keep in mind is too, a lot of this is fantasy. Like, so a guy could say that he is married, but he might not be too. So makes me feel better.
How does it work? How does it compare to working in the club as a dancer?
Way different. It's like, because guys in the club, like for me, they'll probably, if they knew I did this, I tried to talk to some guys and they act surprised. Like, they're like, what? I'm not that deranged. And I'm like, you don't have to be deranged, okay? But because the thing is, my profile is set like you have to, or usually it's a submissive role that you're gonna take. So they come automatically doing that. The men at the club, a man might want me to be more submissive, just turn around, shake your ass, and get money, and that's different, so.
I think every guy is different too. Some of the guys you're talking to are probably in wheelchairs or they're not particularly attractive and they're able to fulfill their fantasy with a voice over the phone. You can be any race, any age, anything they imagine you to be.
That's true.
Once you guys get in a conversation. Do you have regulars that will call you over and over?
Sometimes I do. I've been trying to build them up, but I don't know where they're going.
Do they have a way of asking for you when they call?
That's good. What they do is they look on my profile and it says whether I'm online or not.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And sex work is something that affects you personally, emotionally? Or no?
Like, what do you mean by that?
I mean, like working in the sex work industry, where you're not baking bread, you're not giving advice, you're not a nurse, you're not anything like that. You are working as a sexual object. How does that affect you emotionally? Does it raise your self-worth? Does it affect your self-worth? Does it make you depressed? Anything like that?
Well, for me, I think I'm confident in myself and what I do, especially with this type of work. You have to be, because people are always going to have something to say. And what I struggle more with, which I've been doing better of not caring, is other people trying to tell me what I should be doing with my life and my body. Because for me, what I realized is, like, when it came to dancing, not caring about what people thought, and doing it anyways, it turned out to work for me. So.
And you make more money as a dancer or on the phone?
They fluctuate, but I'd say dancing. But with phone sex, what I had to realize was that it's a business. So it takes time. You have to put not money, but you have to put a lot of time into this business. You can't just come in one Tuesday, one Friday, and then expect to do good. You have to be every week at the same time, because that's usually these guys will call on their break or whatever. So.
They're calling from work?
Yeah, their lunch break.
Really?
Yeah.
It's amazing how men will sneak around.
I'm telling you. I've had a guy, Thanksgiving, he called me. He snuck off for a minute, so.
He called you during Thanksgiving?
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.
Wow. What's the craziest call you've had?
I think the craziest one, that's a good question. It's hard to say one call, because sometimes they'll be submissive, and then they start wanting to talk about injuring themselves, castrating themselves, and my dick is worthless, so you might as well cut it off, and yeah. And I'm like, we can't, I always redirect, because that's nuts. So.
What kind of things are you instructed to not talk about, not get into?
Menstrual play, castration, underage play, calling names like mommy, daddy, family. So what's the other one? Scat play and urine play as well. There's a list of things, but I mean, certain levels of violence, it's okay, that's just too much.
And of course, all of those things you just named are the ways to probably make real serious money. Those guys will pay the top dollar, right?
Yeah, but it's not worth it to break the rules. And the thing is, with me having, like I said, I'm more dominant, so I don't have a problem letting them know, hey, I'm running the show now. Now, and the submissive, there is power in the submissive too, because like I said, it's not just about me calling them every bad name in the book. They have names that they like, and usually they'll say, this is what I'm into, and then we work on that. And if there's something they don't like, I'll stop it.
Do you have to do things to get yourself in the mood for making these calls?
No, because I genuinely enjoy it.
You do?
Yeah, it does. I enjoy, and I can say, because for me, maybe it's my upbringing, growing up so strict and not being able to feel the power and being told that men are the ones with the power and women should submit to them. It's nice for the roles to change.
Yeah. I assume these men are probably pleasuring themselves while they're talking to you. I'm sure that's part of it, right?
Yes. Oh, but sometimes another thing with them wanting to be dominated is wanting, dick cages.
Need what?
They called cock cages.
Okay.
A cage, it's like a metal cage, or sometimes you have a plastic cage too that a man would wear around his dick. And it's usually for guys with small dicks, but they get turned on, not being able to pleasure themselves. And they can only eat a woman out or please a woman, but they can't jerk off or touch themselves. So some of these guys, they'll be caged up. That's what they call them, caged up guys. And they'll have other mistresses or other men sometimes that have dominated them, and they'll call me yeah, he has me in this cage, and I want to touch myself. He should know as a man how it feels to get off, but I'm just stuck at his mercy. And I tell him yeah, you know your place, where you belong is behind that cage, and you have to give him and give me the power too. So
makes you wonder about society as a whole.
It's honestly made me more open-minded and learning more. I've gone to the sex stores, and just to look at it and see I'm the type of person that wonders why people do what they do. So for me, I wonder what would turn a man on by that. But he gets turned on by not having the power. He gets turned on by giving all the control, and the woman gets to please herself and be pleasured.
Psychology and sex are just such interesting topics.
Yes,
and
they
how
are.
Come together. What people enjoy and what their little kink is or their fetish. Do you ever get days where you're just not into it?
No, because I enjoy being told that I'm a goddess. I enjoyed being told by men that they want to give me the power. And
men generally want to treat you nicely over the phone? They're not looking to degrade you?
Before I became dominant, that was my experience. And I will say, I think part of that is because I'm a Black woman, because I would get guys it's something called race play, which is when a guy of the opposite race of you will say something racist to you. And so I had guys calling me on the phone, like trying to call me the N-word and stuff. And it's like, I don't tolerate that at all. So that's kind of looking into, more dominant way. It made them guys know that, hey, that's not acceptable. And we can block them too. Like if anybody does anything you don't
So
like.
your profile shows a photo of you.
Yes.
And it also lets them know that you're more of a dominant.
Yes.
So that kind of steers the certain type of guy your way.
But then, I will say, you still get, every once in a while, you get a guy who acts stupid, but I don't care because they're paying me. So it's like, you're using your mom's allowance money to pay and talk shit to me for 10 minutes.
Do you get
whatever.
young guys, you think?
Young guy? I'd say the guys I get usually are like middle age. Rarely do I get super young guys or super old guys.
Interesting. Sonja, what would you say is the most important thing you've learned in your life or in your experiences as a sex worker?
To not care about what other people think about you. Because like for a long time, I used to care about what people thought, and I was just not happy with who I was and where I was in life. But even though sometimes I get lonely because like I don't have like anybody I talk to, any friends or anything. But like I'm still happy because I'm myself. So if they don't like it, that's on them. I don't have time to worry about what people think. And it's just frustrating because like all I did, when I was cool with my mother and father, even in spite of our differences, it was like never enough for them. That was never enough. And
You had siblings?
yes, I have an older sister, younger sibling as
And
well.
how were they treated differently than you were?
Well, my older sister's from a previous marriage, so I don't know. She's from my father from a previous marriage. My younger brother, he struggled in school. He just struggled a lot, like academically, so he got a lot of extra help. And it was a lot of pressure too, because like I had to, help him a lot, and everybody thought I was fine and I was okay because I did good in school. But grades-wise, I didn't get into trouble a lot as a kid or anything. So.
But you felt like your parents had expectations that you couldn't fulfill, or what was going on? What was the dynamic that was going on with your family?
It was a lot of like, when I look back, pressure. And then the thing is too, as I'm an adult and I've matured, you realize that like certain things that you were taught as a kid was wrong. Like with my father being abusive to my mom, like it's just certain traumas that I think about, but yet the family kind of and we have a habit of this too, letting the men can do whatever, the men can just pretty much be kings, but the women are supposed to be mom, dad, subservient. And it was just frustrating, having a father, because
The men are protected often.
Oh, very protected.
They get away
yeah.
with murder, and they're
Absolutely.
protected by the families.
Absolutely, literally, and that's what
Sure.
But yeah. So that too, and then like my mom, we used to get along, but once I got older and I wanted to do my own thing, it's like she turned crazy. Like I remember one time I told her, I didn't even talk to a recruiter, but I told her I was considering joining the Air Force to pay for my college. And she didn't even say anything. And like 5 minutes later, she comes in the room and cusses me out, calling me selfish, now I'm not gonna get my insurance or whatever from the government because you want to go to college, you want to go off and join the military. And it's like, I bet you think I wish I was now, but it's a different story. So
It's interesting with families. Sometimes you'll see a parent, believe it or not, who is like jealous of their child. Like you're going to do something she always wishes she had done.
I have had people tell me that before, because I remember like it would be little things. Like one day, sometimes I would have, an attitude about stuff, but it was because I had so much pressure. Like I had to help my brother with his homework. I had to do my own homework and stay on honor roll and do the best I can. And I had to help my mom with her homework too, because she went to college when I was young. it was just a lot of pressure. And one day it's like, I came home from school wearing a nice dress and I was like, yeah, the girl's talking about my days. The girl's complimenting me on my dress. And she's like, yeah, you know, your dress does look nice, but it's a shame you have such a bad attitude to go with it. And it's like, thanks. Thanks.
We should give parents lessons on how to be parents.
My parents were my first bully, and it took me so long to like accept and realize that, because I thought that because they like made sure we went to church and we like, you see, they were strict about how I talk and how I act, and I thought that's what made a good family. But it's like some of the things, my parents were my first bullies, and I tried to talk to them and try and work things out, but it's like, they don't want to admit to their wrongdoings, but they'll hold something I did when I was 13 over their head. And I'm just tired of it. Like, every time I would try to talk to somebody in my community about what was going on, they were like, well, no, you know, your mom's a single mother. You should just be a better daughter. And it's like, I tried. Yeah, maybe I smoked weed when I was 17, which she didn't find out about until I was grown. But anyways, I smoked weed, and I did unfortunately have sex at 17. But I mean, I don't know. I wasn't fighting. I wasn't cussing her out because I knew what would happen. So.
You seem to have raised either with their help or on your own. You've turned into a beautiful adult.
Thank you. I mean,
You're intelligent. You're well spoken. You present beautifully.
And I am. I mean, I guess I can be grateful for that. You know, with them, I can say that I'm grateful for them making sure that I was, you know, talking well and everything. But that's with church too, because, you know, when you're in church, they're strict on you, especially in the black church. Like, they don't play. So
Yeah, they're serious about it.
yeah, they are.
Were there things in your childhood that were particularly tough that you went through?
Well, tough was my father not being there. He's, you know, I used to always beg for him to come around, and he lived minutes away, but he wasn't there. He wouldn't show up. But the thing is, he would take care of us financially. Like, he made sure we had on, I wouldn't say like Jordans or anything, but we had on decent clothes and we had nice Christmases. So sometimes I feel like he would get, you know, take out his frustrations and his anger out on us for whatever reason and say, oh, well, I made sure, you know, this was taken care of, so that's why I can do that. And then also dealing with, from the time I was 5 till, I think it was like 5 to 9, I was molested, so.
Is that somebody in the family?
Yeah.
That's always hard for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard for me to accept too, because I hate to call like kids molesters, but the person who did that to me was the same age as me, and we were children. And like, I'm not mad at her or anything, because I know that like the stuff that she was doing to me had to have been either from like watching porn or having an adult do it to her. And I told my family because, and an adult found out too, her grandma saw us and didn't say anything. And so it continued for a couple months until she died, because she babysat me. And a year had passed, and there was a family event and we were all gonna go out of town. So they were like, well, you can just go with, you know, your female family member, because we did get along outside of that. And that's when I told my mom. And my family believed me, but unfortunately, she didn't admit to it. And so, I mean, like I said, it's no hard feelings, because she was just a child, you know what I'm saying? It's just sad.
Growing up is just tough.
That's an understatement.
For so many people, it's just tough.
Yeah.
We all struggle to get through it. Mm-hmm. All right, Sonja, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you
I
for
wish you
having me.
all the luck in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Even though Soft White Underbelly consists of a lot of videos, it's really still a photography project to me. And if you appreciate the photography, sometimes it's difficult to enjoy it when it's scrolling down the screen, which is the only option I had in this horizontal format on YouTube. So last year we came out with the first Soft White Underbelly book, which is a collection of the best portraits from the thousands of interviews I've done. Each portrait in this book is accompanied by an interesting quote from the person's interview.
Oh my God.
There's more.
Wow. These aren't as bad as I thought. I look like a witch.
I will not be reprinting this book when it sells out, so once it's gone for good. You can order yours at softwhiteunderbelly.org. $125, $150 for a signed copy. And thank you for watching.